If you're struggling with hair fall and hair loss, this one is for you. Today, we're going to tell you the factors responsible for hair loss and at the same time suggest some research-backed solutions. So no more depending on those ads that give zero results. We are here to scientifically solve your hair problems. But before we move further, hit the bell icon and subscribe to our channel. So, my dear friends, if you have already lost hope, thinking that nothing can stop that hair loss, take a deep breath and hop on an informative journey. But wait, have you ever wondered if men lose hair more quick than females? Or maybe females lose it fast? Let us see. Consider the male pattern of hair loss or androgenic alopecia. Alopecia means hair loss, and androgen are the male sex hormones that give men those masculine characteristics. They're definitely more amongst men and less amongst females. Now, let's introduce another concept of hair follicles. Hair follicles are a downward growth of your epidermis that develops while you are in the womb. As it develops, it begins to push into a nipple-like structure known as the dermal pill. This dermal pill is essential as it contains tiny blood vessels that provide nutrients to the cell at the base of the follicle. As the cells divide, they accumulate at the bottom of the hair, pushing it further out of the follicle. This is basically how you get your overall length of hair. Hair follicles have different phases. The active phase, also referred to as the anagen phase, is followed by a regression or catagen phase, where the base of the follicle shrivels and pulls away from the pill. There is another phase known as the resting or the teen phase, which lasts over 3 months. The follicle then enters into the growth phase. The old hair eventually falls out and new hair starts to grow. Guess what? Individuals lose up to 100 hair each day because of this process. But when we talk about hair loss, we're most concerned about the growth phase. In this regard, we look at the duration of the growth phase. Did you know this phase can last from 2 to 6 years or even more? A possible explanation for how your hair can grow so long. Now, imagine similar growth over your arms. Whoa, scary hairy arms, isn't it? Now, talking about the hair loss, for people beginning to lose hair, it is important to note that hair begins to get shorter during the growth phase. This leads us to talk about androgen, also known as dihydrotestosterone, DHT. DHT is a potent metabolite of testosterone. Testosterone, however, is converted to DHT in the hair follicles of the scalp. This conversion takes place because of the enzyme alpha reductase. Now, since we'll be talking about the hair loss treatment options, let us talk about the role of DHT in this case. Once testosterone converts to DHT, the DHT binds itself with the androgen receptor in the follicle. This is what gives the appearance of baldness. This process is known as follicular miniaturization. That is also linked to the reduction in the size of dermal pill. One thing to note here is the fact that this androgen-dependent process has great links to our genetics. Genetics and hair loss. Myth or truth? Are you predisposed to hair loss? Well, is that even a thing? Genetics do play a role in hair loss, but don't blame your parents for that. It's just a myth, but studies do show that you can attribute your hair fall to your dad. For example, a study incorporating 572 men aged from 16 to 91 found that males under 30 with a bald father were more than 5 times more likely to follow a similar hair loss pattern in comparison to those not with a balding father. It is, however, not a definite that you will go through the same, but the genetics do increase your risk to hair loss. When it comes to treating hair loss, let's look into 2 main goals. 1. Treating hair loss, and 2. Prevent further hair loss and restore some that has already been lost. We're sure you must have come across different treatment options, namely supplements, light therapy, and massage techniques. If you have already tried those various home remedies as well, here are some of the effective ways to combat hair loss. Options driven by data and research. One thing to note here is that the fact that every treatment has its pros and cons. Keeping that in mind, we shall start with the first few topical options like minoxidil and oral facide. Minoxidil. One of the widely used names for treating hair loss is minoxidil or Rogaine. It promotes hair growth by increasing the duration of anagen or the growth phase. At the same time, it reduces the resting or the teen phase along with enlarging the miniaturized follicles. Minoxidil achieves this by maintaining the size and vascularity of the dermal pill, thereby supplying enough blood to the follicles. Minoxidil is beneficial in the sense that it's not only an effective treatment for hair loss, but being a topical option, it has less systemic side effects. In contrast, there may be an allergic reaction or individuals might undergo dermatitis. There will be extra hair shedding initially as minoxidil stimulates the follicles to move to the growth phase from the resting phase. This is temporary, but a significant downside that some individuals might face. Finasteride. This is another effective treatment for hair loss. Now let's see the role of finasteride. It inhibits the 5-alpha reductase enzyme mentioned mentioned earlier, this enzyme converts testosterone to DHT. The typical 1 mg dose of finasteride can lower DHT levels by more than 60%. This shows that if we reduce the amount of DHT, a lesser percentage of it will bind to the DHT receptor at the hair follicle. This in turn prevents the conversion of those large terminal hair follicles into those smaller hair follicles. Now guess what? Several studies show that finasteride is more effective than minoxidil. It is a pill that you need to take every day, quick and easy, rather than topical application. On the contrary, it enters the bloodstream and causes more side effects. Now, considering the above two options, people often ask, what if they are taken together in a combination? Interestingly, when minoxidil and finasteride are taken together, they give better results. While minoxidil re-enlarges smaller follicles, finasteride prevents the conversion of larger follicles to the smaller ones. The hair growth that was established will likely be lost over a period of few months. Photobiomodulation. This is a low-level laser treatment option that uses special devices like comb helmets that deliver infrared light to the scalp. It is unclear how it works, but it's somewhat understood that it stimulates hair growth by accelerating cellular mitosis. This stimulates the mitochondria and in turn the ATP production, thereby enhancing blood flow and minimizing inflammation. Controlled trials show that this procedure is preferred as it's more natural and results in an increase in terminal hair density and count. Several people also opt for combination therapies. Along with tropical treatments, they also use these devices. This might be costly and time-consuming. Hair transplant, a surgical procedure that extracts multiple follicular units. These are extracted from non-balding scalp locations and removed from the occipital region of the scalp. These are then transplanted to the scalp areas being affected by hair loss. Did you know a single surgical session could last up to 8 hours? A small hair transplant procedure involves 800 to 1000 follicular units. Hair transplantation is one of the most effective options to treat hair loss, but has the potential to cause skin infections and scarring. Remember, these options are for ideal candidates that experience stable, medically controlled male pattern baldness. These requirements actually make us ponder about expectations for hair treatment. The sooner, the better, because if you have lost a lot of hair, you can't get them all back, even with the above available treatment options. It is used to combat hair loss, but studies have shown mixed results, making us skeptical to reach a solution. Dear friends, that was a brief about all the facts you must know about hair loss. We also introduced several treatment options. Now the decision is yours. If you liked the video, like and share it with your friends. Comment about your hair loss struggles and let us help you. Until then, take care of your hair.